Hello, welcome to the first part of this series. Before we get moving into the video itself, I do want to set some expectations on why this video series matters to me and my general intent for this video and every other video that exists on this specific channel. For Primed Pallet, all of the thinking and all of the experiences that I've had in my life have led me to conclude that in most cases, the challenges that we face as individuals and as a society are very commonly rooted in being a gap of applied creativity. And so through all these videos, I'm doing different activities to help you as a viewer find new ways to apply your creativity. Another component that will be important to note for these videos as well too is that the original video that this is based off of was a 2-hour long video. So what I'm going to try to do is take the smaller segments that are subject specific and break them down and add a little more context to what are some of the specific things that I mean behind the high level pieces of content that were deployed in that 2-hour video. Based on the view count, having a 2-hour video with an hour and a half of that being subtext, probably not the best way for you as a viewer to be able to reach that level of applying your creativity. So through these videos, I hope that you are able to find a greater sense of the things that I'm looking to illustrate, and for you also to find new ways to apply your creativity. Thank you so much. Let's jump into it. This first subject that gets talked about in this longer video, because it is kind of a foundational component to the way I produce, what my ambitions are when I create paintings and artwork, and why it's important that this specific topic of the constrictive nature of video games and how that's actually opened up a capacity for me to produce more consistently and for me to feel the ambitions to create to a higher degree. So I note here that I've got some takeaways that were found in a surprising place, and maybe not surprising for some, because for those of you who have gotten into playing farming games or any other sort of games that are focused on managing a ever-growing environment where you're looking for profit, you're also looking to develop relationships with the characters in the game, you might already be aware of some of how this affects you positively in real life. So this specific game that I'm speaking about is Stardew Valley, which is a farming simulation game. It's been out and very popular in the gaming community for a long time, and there have been thousands of mods and thousands of, well, probably not thousands of updates, but a lot of updates that have improved the game and its ability to positively impact the players. When you're playing the game, you come across a character named Mr. Chi, it's spelled Qi, and you come across him after you've completed a lot of the objectives in the game. You've rebuilt a community center for the town. You've applied a lot of the things that you've grown in your farm to the rest of the world, and that can include things like monster hunting, that can include the gift-giving elements of the game. And Mr. Chi has something to note to the players who have achieved those high levels of objectives in the game. He specifically says, we're going to get to it here in just a sec, that he rewards you. He goes into a space to say it's those like us who have a responsibility to keep the world alive and give folks a taste of the extraordinary. And what he's specifically talking about in the game is the people who, in their free time in life, or through their careers, or through their relationships with their family and friends, are adding something important to those people's lives. That's a key element of being human and of also being able to contribute to the world around you to a higher degree. And the metaphor that he uses here is it's us who are creators, and specifically, everybody is a creator. Everybody who wakes up in the morning, and I pull this directly from Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic book, everybody who wakes up in the morning and makes a decision to create an outfit. Sorry, the quail are being noisy there. Everybody who specifically wakes up in the morning and chooses an outfit is also being creative. So everybody's a creative. To what extent that you apply that to differs person to person and time period to period on just what sort of impact you're delivering to the world around you. But this zesty sauce is, in my world, for me specifically, the things that I'm painting, the pottery that I'm making, the woodworking that I'm making, all of those things are the zesty sauce that create a better world. And I feel like that's so important to be delivered as a message to somebody who's playing a video game, where you're doing a lot of those things in the video game, but it's also a nudge from the developer. Eric Barone is the developer of Stardew Valley, to do these things that you're doing in the game in real life, to take all of this creative discipline and all of this focus on building something, making something, improving something, to do it in real life as well. And what better place exists beyond a video game to deliver that message? I'm not sure. Maybe through an 1.5-hour movie, of course, maybe through reading a book, of course. But playing a game is a very unique experience. And he notes too that it doesn't have to, well, he doesn't note this, but I would note this. You don't have to be a creator to a full and broad extent, but it's absolutely worth exploring and seeing what you can get into and seeing what sort of things you might be able to do with your creative capacity. And this specific note, opportunities feel a bit lighter, and they help us differentiate between, opportunities feel a bit lighter if you can help differentiate between what are the needs and the wants in your life. So I'm starting to blend into another topic specifically here, but it's a subject that I'll talk a little bit more on in one of the other parts, and maybe a little bit right now too, which is a video game is constrictive. A video game has rules, and it is not fully infinite like life is, right? There's specific places that you cannot go in a video game. There's specific things that you cannot do in a video game. And it's that specific environment that helps us understand some of the skill sets that we may not have, or that we're getting into to a fuller extent, without having to feel the crushing burden of just the multitude of ways that you could take a creative project. In a video game, there's often like, do X, Y, and Z, and you'll see results in A, B, and C very quickly. It's in the space of instant gratification, but it's not necessarily anything that's going to prevent you from being able to understand those skill sets to a higher extent and to develop some ambition to go and do that. One of the examples, so Stardew Valley is a spiritual successor to a game called Harvest Moon, which came out in the 90s, and I played and rented the video game when I was a kid and played through the series into my teen years. And it was in my teenage years that Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town came out, and it was like this expansion of, like, not only are you growing the crops and tending to your ranch animals, but you're then taking those results, the crops, the farm products, the ranch products like milk and cheese, you're taking those specific things that you've been able to collect, and then you're cooking with them. And that was, for whatever reason, that triggered me one specific summer to actually start making candy at home, to take raw ingredients like sugar and chocolate and flavors and start making fudge and caramel. And that summer that I played that game, I actually started going door to door to the neighborhood and selling fudge to the rest of the neighbors. And some of the fudge was really good, and there were bad batches as well too. But it was because of playing this farming simulator game that eventually kind of expanded into this like life simulator game that I got the ambition to move forward and actually do some of those things in real life. And I think that's a critical component that is completely underrated when it comes to video games, especially ones that are socially constructive, is it helps you develop that ambition to create that zesty sauce, to create the fudge, to create the net result recipes of the things that are exciting to you to try to take on. It made in the video game the process of creating candy feel like it was attainable. And I don't have anybody in my family circle or friend circle, especially at that time as a teenager, that was doing those things. And it normally, I think historically, most people will take on doing something because they've got a trusted person who has helped show them the ropes. Video games essentially expand on that influence of doing something socially constructive. Not in all cases, of course, but in this specific case of farming simulators, they expand on that ability for you as an individual to see the world in a different light and to see new skill sets as much more obtainable than you previously thought, and maybe worth giving a shot. And I did not continue past that summer, that one specific summer, in selling fudge, but I did continue throughout my life in cooking and getting to know how to make desserts. And now it's things like making ice cream at home that continue that feeling of, oh my gosh, how exciting it is to specify which ingredients you're going to be putting in to something that's going to be really tasty, that zesty sauce, and then give it to family members, have them experience it with you, help other people take on those skills. Maybe they're not interested in video games, but you can still now, with the net result of you playing a game like Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon, you can take that to a new degree of helping other people get more engaged in life. And I think that's very special. I think that's uniquely special, completely underrated when people consider the value of video games. I'm noting this specifically in the video itself. And we've only got just a few, I think maybe one more frame on this video that I wanted to break down. One more bit of subtext. We talked a little bit about this, and I think the next, okay. So that's a wrap on that subject, which was great because we've already created another 12 minutes of content of a deep dive of that first part of this video. The next video is going to be about courage, wisdom, an appetite to grow, and how to balance all those things. What's the relationship between those things? And yes, very much influenced by the Triforce from the Legend of Zelda series, where the game developers there have noted the importance of the Triforce of courage, the Triforce of wisdom, and the Triforce of power. Also another influential game series in my personal life and how I've continued to expand on my career and my skill sets that very much do supplement my ability to have that zesty sauce for the people around me in my professional world and outside of work as well too. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope these video series are compelling to you. Would love to get some feedback from you for those of you who have made it to the 13-minute mark plus. What are your thoughts? Any follow-up questions? Do you feel like I missed something? Let me know. Take care and have a great rest of your day.